A groundbreaking broadcast on Skywatch TV tonight as we announce the very first partnership between two friends who've known each other for years. This is groundbreaking stuff. Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. Joining me in studio, three men who launched or led an expedition to the American Southwest and have pulled together information from around the globe that may redefine what you think you know about history. To my left, the host, writer, and director of the forthcoming documentary film True Legends Part 3, There Were Giants. And next to them, the two men who are together again for the very first time, Steve QUAYLE and Tom Horn, the co-authors of the new book, Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters, compelling evidence of the incursion of giants, their extraordinary technology, and imminent return, the first book ever co-authored by these two men. Gentlemen, welcome. We have had some fascinating conversations which viewers can see on our exclusive web-only content at skywatchtv.com and the Skywatch TV channel on Roku and on YouTube. But Tom, now that you're in studio, we get to find out how it is that you and Steve have known each other for nearly 2 decades, and this is the first time you guys have collaborated on a project. What was it that brought you guys together on Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters?
Yeah, well, and as we get into it, people will realize that it was really, there was a task here that was demanding to be excavated, to be investigated, to put us on site in remote locations. And I do have to say, though, that it is the most incredible thing, Steve, that as many years as you and I have been doing radio and television together, that this is the very first time that a book, it's by Steve QUAYLE and Tom Horn. Now, you know, different people, my son Joe Artis, he tells me people around the world are demanding a book by Thomas Horn and Steve QUAYLE. And it's just weird that we've never done it, because so often we'll actually be tracking on something over here. Haven't even talked to Steve about it. We're actually keeping it from him, right? Because we don't want him to know about it. He's doing the same thing over there.
That's
right?
the case.
Yeah. And yet, at the same time, these things will just seem to coalesce and come together, and all of a sudden we're both talking about the same issue. God put it on both of our hearts at the same time, and that's happened for, you know, year after year. We were talking before the program, you know, how long have you and I been doing radio and TV? We know we were doing it before Y2K, so it's been for over 17 years of radio and television. But I couldn't be more excited. And as we get into it, people will learn why it had to be a book and a documentary film. I'm excited for another reason, and that is that Steve and Timothy Alberino have set the gold standard, I'm telling you, in Christian film documentary making. Their last film was by far, to me, the most impressionable film I have ever seen. And I've been around a long time. I'm an old guy, right? I've watched a lot of Christian product. This is Hollywood level production stuff. And of course, their big budgets that they've had to raise to pay for it is kind of behind some of that editing. But so for me, just what a great honor and great opportunity to be involved in the documentary and also in the research and investigation that led to unearthing the lost world of the Cloudeaters.
Now, Steve, why the Four Corners area of the U.S. and why these particular native tribes? What led you to focus on them?
For a long time in my independent studies, research, analysis, I'm of the persuasion, due to the overwhelming amount of evidence, Derek, that the ancients, and when I'm talking ancients, came to North America probably around 3000 BC, even before. It's my understanding of history that there's so many of the national, if you will, the national parks hide so many of the true, what's the word I want? Not only monuments, but there's been a cover-up. I'm trying to be really gentle. Well, forget that. We're going for it. Okay. There's been a cover-up of true history. So the Desert Southwest, with all of its fascination, its myths, its legends, the Native Americans, myths, legends, it ties in with everything we've done around the world. Now, it's interesting because there's kind of a three-prong attack here. I've been a writer, and I've been doing what I've been doing off on my right side. Tom has been doing what he's doing, and it's interesting. Again, people say, well, how can you guys say that? that you don't talk to each other. I mean, I wonder how, like, 1 minute we were just talking before we went on screen, and it's amazing because, again, it's a parallel. Then Tim comes in, and he lives in Peru, okay? This is Jungle Tim, okay? Who's eaten every version of what's in the jungle you can eat. But some of the stories he has to tell about Peru, but you track South America into basically the desert Southwest. The things that we're talking about in here go prior to the creation of Adam and Eve, pre-Adamic. The ancient legends of the Native Americans, how can they match the native legends of the, let's say, the Papua New Guinea natives or Asian, the population of Asian, their writings, their historic records and their documents. And it all comes back to the fascination of fallen angels, giants, demons, and all of the different manifestations in civilization and culture. And that's why, again, True Legends, the series, you know, and the next one is There Were Giants, we're bringing all the independent research, and we've got basically an army of researchers, you know,
right?
And that's, people are from all over the world are sending us stuff. And the thing is that now it's both in book form and it's in the DVD form. And There Were Giants, which is just, there's nothing like it. Again, people are focused on bones, and they argue over the bones. Well, why, if there are, you know, if there are all these giants, where can I go see the bones? And I said, well, just give us a while. We're going to bring them to your living room, only they won't be just bones. They'll be the giants, and they'll be in person. Brought to you courtesy of NoMoreSkeptics.com. By the way, if that doesn't exist, go get it. But
I guarantee you now that you've said it, somebody's
already
going to
got
own
it.
it.
But what's really neat is the fact that starting in Peru, you know, again, I'm in the place now where I'm going totally almost away from writing after this, unless something else changes like every minute. But you know, and focusing on the DVD, because the DVDs have been just beyond well received around the world. People are coming to know the Lord Jesus Christ. This is what I want to make this clear. Everything we do is based on the Word of God. And starting in Genesis, the beginning, you know, Bereshit, for those of you that know that that means in the beginning, you know, the thing is that we're talking now about all the solutions, and I believe answers to the question marks that somehow Christians have avoided and evaded. And so, you know, Tim is the writer-director of this, and he's the guy that gets to stomp through all the cool and crazy places, you know. And the thing that's interesting is that the central theme of history, what you've written in your new book, what we've written, it's all leading to a conclusion. So I think it's like this. I think it's like, you know, God gave all of us the different jigsaw piece puzzles, and whether it's a corny metaphor or not, it's a real metaphor. And now the pieces are really lining up. And when people, it's like being so focused on Google Earth, you have no idea what you're looking at until you start pulling back, you know, the zoom in feature, and you zoom out, and now you get the big picture. And that's what we're giving. We're giving, I believe, the most consistent overview of biblically based history that explains myths, legends, and the true war there is between basically God and his angels and Satan and 1/3 of the fallen angels.
Well, and let me jump back in and say that this, you know, the documentary, There Were Giants, and the book actually grew out of the fact that we came across new evidence. In fact, the story is way too long. They're going to have to read the book, see the movie. In fact, we're even having a conference in Branson, Missouri in September of this year. People will see the advertising for that starting pretty soon. We're going to bring together all the people that are involved over a 2-day period to really get down into the, you know, to the minute details of this. But let's just say, you know, through a chance meeting with a man who for 25 years gave lectures at the Smithsonian Institute, who himself was a curator, we were put together with the leaders of the Pueblo nations, the Zuni nation, the Hopi, the Uti nation people. And we're not talking about Johnny-come-lately Native Americans. We're talking about the man who for 2 decades was the representative for the Pueblo nations for Indian affairs to the U.S. government. We're talking about another guy who is, what they call him, they don't call him a president, they call him a governor. The governor of one of the nations, the Zuni nation. And we met privately with them in a nondescript location in the Midwest for a solid week. And some of the stuff that we learn there is absolutely over the top. It starts with Michael Herring, the curator, saying, did you know that the American Indians, they actually have what you would call their own Illuminati? And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, secret societies within the nation, including, he said, a group that are called the Giants Society. And they are the ones who are the keepers of the bones. They are the ones that have all of the knowledge. Well, one of them was there. They met with us. We tried to get them to take us right to where the bones are. They wouldn't do that, but they took us to a location and pointed at a mountain because they're in a unique situation. You know, they want us to know the truth because it would verify their belief systems.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's a dangerous political move, right? For you to be the one to give up the secrets that are held by the nations. So they just took us to a location, pointed at a mountain, and said, that is where the giant bones are. And furthermore, they said that's where the giants are going to rise soon from the dead in what they would call the fifth world and we would call the Great Tribulation period. So it's amazing that they also are aware that we're entering into this moment in time. So we met with them there. Timothy can talk about the fact that they also told us where an active Stargate is, even explained how to get to it. But again, they didn't take us there. So by the time we hit the September conference, we could have some more new information because now we're at a point where I'm still holding out hope that actually the Smithsonian themselves is going to sit down with us. Now, an 80-year-old retired curator from the Smithsonian told us, he said, the time has come for a philosophical investigation into the location of the bones that were taken by the Smithsonian and spirited away into some of their large warehouses and cataloged away. So we are very close now, but it was these discoveries that got us there and all the doors that then opened. So it's in other words, not just another cool book, not just the first book ever written by Tom and Steve QUAYLE, not just a really well-made documentary, but this was content-driven with new information that provides evidence of diffusionism. The first whole half of that book, by the way, Steve is dealing with pre-Adamic architecture and technology of the fallen watchers and the megalithic evidence of that around the world, right? And then halfway through, Tom Horn comes in, and now you're with the Native Americans in the Four Corners area of the United States, and we're going through all of the interviews, the information. We did interview the Smithsonian. One of our researchers, Donna Howell, actually got on the phone and took them to task, found them obfuscating information. So this was a real cool investigation that uncovered a lot of new information that actually, at the end of the day, is going to demand that part of American history be rewritten because we found that it is the opposite of what so many kids are learning in the public education system.
Well, that's no surprise because it's the opposite of what most of us have been learning about biblical history in the churches as well. Tim, I want to bring you into the conversation when we come back from the break and talk a little bit about that technology and also get your sense of what this Native American secret society believes and how it tracks with our understanding of the spirit realm as Bible-believing Christians. We are having a fascinating discussion about the forthcoming documentary, There Were Giants, and the book, Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters, Timothy Alberino, Steve QUAYLE, and Tom Horn. Our conversation continues right after this on Skywatch TV.
You know the textbook history of America, but secretive institutions have worked behind the scenes to conceal a darker secret.
There were giants in the earth in those days.
Cloudeaters, as the tribal leaders knew them, not only existed, they brought ritual cannibalism and pre-Columbian dragon-worshipping interlopers to ancient American soil. And then they took women and fathered hideous monsters. Their secret has been known to academics and underground societies for hundreds of years. And these legions know something else, too, that's been suppressed until now. The date when the Cloudeaters shall return. Over the last year, Stephen QUAYLE and Dr. Thomas R. Horn met secretly with the leaders of the Hopi, Zuni, and Ute Nation tribes. Clandestine locations were pointed out to them, where the giants are kept and will rise again. They examined the documentation of deified, six-toed, six-fingered, double-row-teeth mutants buried on American soil. They were told where the stargates are that reveal the future to medicine men before it happens. And they uncovered what's been hidden in plain sight by the Great Smithsonian Institute for more than 200 years. Now, for the first time in their decades of investigative work together, legendary radio veterans and prolific authors Steve Quayle and Tom Horn pull out all the stops to reveal a truth that demands the history and destiny of America be re-examined. Nothing will be held back on what is now indisputably the greatest achievement of their life's work together in unearthing the lost world of the Cloudeaters. Join Stephen Quayle and Dr. Thomas Horn on their historic journey and discover ancient civilizations where the past and future intersect. You will encounter the pre-flood architecture of the giant kings, what caused the Anasazi to disappear overnight, and the sacred mountains where the giant bones are kept. Coming this May from Defender Publishing, Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters, compelling evidence of the incursions of giants, their extraordinary technology, and imminent return.
After decades of investigative work together, the moment we've been waiting for is finally here. Legendary authors Stephen Quayle and Dr. Thomas Horn reveal what is now indisputably the greatest achievement of their life's work together in the Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters special collection. When you purchase this once-in-a-lifetime special offer, you'll receive the brand new There Were Giants documentary film. In this groundbreaking full-length DVD, you'll travel with Stephen Quayle and Dr. Thomas Horn to the historical clandestine places where giants are actually buried on American soil. You'll discover the ancient locations of tribal stargates and what's been hidden in plain sight by the Great Smithsonian Institute for more than 200 years. Plus, Defender Publishing is proud to introduce the new collaborative companion book, Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters. Walk with Stephen Quayle and Dr. Thomas Horn as they meet secretly with the leaders of the Hopi, Zuni, and Ute Nation tribes to learn about the pre-flood architecture of the giant kings. Learn why the ancient Anasazi disappeared overnight, who the dragon-worshipping giant invaders of early America were, and how they taught natives ritual cannibalism to change their DNA into fit extensions for spirits of dead giants, and so much more. In addition, when you order the Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters special collection, you'll also receive Shadow Hand, the over 24-hour, never-before-offered Steve Quayle and Tom Horn definitive audio series on CD. This brand new audio collection discloses the terrifying truth behind the WikiLeaks emails and the push for official disclosure of so-called aliens in 2017. And as a bonus, the new Shadowhand audio series includes the most requested collections ever produced by Steve Quayle and Thomas Horn. The Coming Zombie Apocalypse, As It Was in the Days of Noah, Psychotronic Warfare, and The Coming Replacement Humans, over 24 hours on audio CD. But that's not all. Also included in this special offer while supplies last, 2 brand new free gift books for your library or to give away as gifts. Sold separately, this amazing collection represents a total value of over $175. Yours for only $39.95 beginning in May. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own the Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters special collection, available exclusively at the Skywatch TV store. Order online now or call 1-844-750-4985.
Welcome back to Skywatch TV. Please take advantage of the web-exclusive content. We've got 6 additional programs not being broadcast on network television dealing with these topics, but you can only find them at skywatchtv.com, the Skywatch TV channel on Roku, and the Skywatch TV channel on YouTube. In studio with Timothy Alberino, Steve Quayle, and Tom Horn, we're talking about There Were Giants, the forthcoming DVD from as part of the True Legends series, and the first book ever co-authored by Tom Horn and Steve QUAYLE, Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters. Tim, the stargates that Tom mentioned before the break, these Native American elders seem to describe it as a type of technology rather than a spiritual discipline. How did they describe this, and how does it work?
Well, let me reiterate how exciting this project is. We converge. We're converging. It's almost like a prophetic convergence happening here with all this information between what we've been uncovering at Gen 6 Productions and what you guys have been tracking with at Skywatch TV. So we literally converged together in our project. We met in the desert Southwest. And here we are, me and Tom and Steve, sitting on one side of the table. On the other side of the table, these elders from the Pueblo nations. And we're asking them about giants. We're asking them about stargates. And they were pretty mum on a lot of the topics. But when we started talking about stargates, one of the older gentlemen said, he threw his hands up in the air, and he said, I'm 70-some years old at this point. We're not supposed to talk about this stuff, but I don't care anymore.
And can I just point out how ironic it is that the Pueblo Indian who broke the secret to you is named Cliff.
Cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Cliff Pueblo, you know. Yeah.
Cliff Mahooty.
Okay,
and
well, that wasn't
You
funny
beat me
before the
to
show
that
either.
one, but now that you said it, that's great. Derek.
Well, and it's Cliff because, frankly, none of us can enunciate his actual Indian name, right?
He shortened it quite a bit, like by probably 31 syllables.
So here we are sitting there, me and Tom and Steve, and he just starts telling us about how every year, multiple times during the year, so routinely, the medicine men from different tribes, he said, get together for the express purpose of activating a stargate. And this is what they're telling us. And the other guys that were sitting at the table were reluctantly agreeing and capitulating to the idea that, okay, they're spilling the beans on this. And so they were all in agreement at this point, nodding their heads, reluctantly agreeing, telling us, yes, this is true. We never tell anybody this. We're probably the only white men they've ever told this to. In fact, I think they told us that. Yeah. And so they activate routinely, their medicine men activate stargates. And it wasn't some kind of a vision quest. It wasn't that they were all taking some kind of a hallucinogenic substance and having a vision. They were activating some kind of technology.
In the physical realm.
Yeah, is what they're explaining to us. And they had they went into great detail about this.
Right.
About how they activate the Stargate. It appears
well,
as
even
a screen.
even using harmonics. In
Right,
fact, one of the guys actually even illustrated some of the whistling sounds and stuff that they make. They create harmonics to open this gateway. And it's technology that was there by the time they arrived.
Yeah, and they actually they communicate with entities through these stargates. Things come in, things go back into the stargate. I mean, things come out of it, things go back into it. And they even told us that their medicine men were able to predict 9/11 before it happened. In fact, they were able to predict 9/11. They saw it happen collectively, the medicine men. And then they went back and they prepped their tribes that this event was going to occur.
To avoid New York, we saw large
Exactly.
buildings, airplanes, yeah.
Yep, and they got this information by activating a Stargate. Again, not necessarily just a supernatural thing. We're talking like some kind of a technological situation that they were describing to us. And they were very explicit and making it known to us that we're talking like some kind of a physical thing appeared.
They described it too, remember, as flowing water? And
Yeah.
I said, well, tell me what it looked like, you know? And so the deal is that it's interesting because there's a Native American study on stargates, a military study, sacred places.
Yes.
And what was interesting
Well,
is...
this is a government, U.S. government
U.S.
study.
government. They're not denying it, so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they actually described it. And what's interesting, the Stargate movie and the Stargate series uses the same illustration.
Yeah, and they even brought that up.
Yes.
They even brought that movie up, and they said it's actually kind of like that.
Well, and it's really important, again, to emphasize, if anybody missed it, we are not talking about a couple of Johnny-go-lately, guys pulling our leg. This was set up through a former part of the Smithsonian to meet with us in the Midwest, and these are the top-level individuals from the Pueblo. So this was a historic meeting. This has never happened before. And I don't think they went there thinking they were going to give up some of the secrets they did, but it was the longer we were there, and they were in their own circle talking among themselves, letting us listen as we're sitting at the table, that little by little, they started giving up information. In fact, the guy that had been the former speaker at the Smithsonian, he said they really want to give you this information. They really want to tell you, but on the other hand, there's political reasons not to.
Right. We just have a couple of minutes left in this program. I would definitely, in a future program, want to talk about the pre-Adamic civilization research that you've done.
This is where we're going.
But,
we're on the cliff. We're on the edge, brother.
Right. With just a couple of minutes, I think we Americans tend to view the Native Americans, who clearly got a raw deal, and that's putting it nicely, from our ancestors who came in and basically took their land. But what they're doing, how does that square, as Christians, how do we view what they're doing? Because it sounds to me, if I can be so bold, occultic.
Yeah, it does. And in fact, we have to be very careful about that. The way we approach this through prayer, and not, in other words, we're not going to start practicing the stuff that they do, right? But what we saw was a commonality. Their tale matches perfectly with the research that you've been doing in the Great Inception, with what came out of the Middle East, the biblical book of Genesis chapter 6, the story of the flood, the reptilian deceiver. They're telling exactly the same story. We approached it very carefully and through much prayer. But also, we know that American history needs to be rewritten based on probably what we're going to have to get into in one of the following programs.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. We're just seeing the different story from a different perspective, the same story from a different perspective. That is the substance of the book by Tom Horn and Steve QUAYLE, Unearthing the Lost World of the Cloudeaters, and of course the DVD that accompanies the book, True Legends Part 3, There Were Giants. We've got much more to come in the weeks ahead, so please stay with us. And again, take advantage of the exclusive additional interview content, the Skywatch TV web exclusives at skywatchtv.com. With Timothy Alberino, Steve QUAYLE, Tom Horn, I'm Derek Gilbert, and we thank you for watching as we keep watch. This is Skywatch TV.